Okay, I'm sorry. For some reason, I've got to keep checking the volume here because AI knocks us off. I'm sorry, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here that has joined us on this broadcast tonight. We apologize for coming on so late. We've been working on a program for about 3.5, 4 hours now, and I wanted to bring it to you. Folks, we're going to be talking about an earthquake that hit earlier this afternoon. I should say later this afternoon. A 5.3 magnitude earthquake hit off or just on the southwestern side of Australia. Near, I know I'm going to butcher this, you guys down in Australia, and I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with how you talk down there or the names of your towns and cities. This is near Mindaraban, Western Australia. This is a 5.3 magnitude earthquake. Before I came on the air for the past 3 hours, I've been monitoring the news services and I have not come up with any information about this earthquake. It is too new, I believe. Nobody's talking about it. I went to the Australian news services and I did not find out anything about it. But folks, what I need to tell you is this: where this earthquake is, there are small towns and even major cities around this area. This came out as a 5.3 earthquake. It has been downgraded to a 5.2. This is still a very large earthquake. Now, I have a special guest with me that is going to help me talk about this and also about another quake that hit over in India near Afghanistan yesterday. I want to bring on the air Rebecca.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good. How are you, Rebecca?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I might be able to give you a little bit of information, but not much on this earthquake. It's being put out by English News out of USGS out of China, and it says the earthquake was of magnitude 5.4, and it hit Katanning, Australia, at 21:34 Greater Mountain Time. The epicenter, with a depth of 10 km, was initially determined to be 33.75 degrees south latitude and 118.31 degrees longitude.
Yeah.
But that is all the information I am finding on it, and it's listing as a 5.4.
Yeah. Okay, that's good, because everywhere I went today it was 5.2.
Found something else under Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Actually says that it hit Western Australia and it struck around 5:34 a.m.
That was early in the morning there, and people are mostly going to be in their homes. Very few people will probably be at church or even going to work that early in the morning. People are going to be found in their homes. I know for a fact, since I've been in earthquakes of that size size of an earthquake can do a lot of damage.
It also stated that the depth was about 5 km, and they've received hundreds of reports of residents who felt the quake was recorded across south of the state as far away as Perth, Kalgoorlie, and Bunbury. And the quake lasted 30 seconds, and somebody felt it 15 stories up and it swayed the building. Somebody said they woke up and their windows were rattling. That is the information that I'm able to get. They say it's the most powerful earthquake that hit Australia since 1968, when a 6.5 magnitude quake hit.
I have some more information even about that, about an earthquake that hit in May this year, May 2023. There was an earthquake that hit in May 2023, and that earthquake was not as powerful. Actually, I'm sorry, it was more powerful. It did not hit in Australia, but hit in the Valdese Sea. And I'm going to show everyone a image of that quake. I reported on that quake. Okay, let let me take down this image here and let me show you that. This image the earthquake hit in the Banda Sea in the east-south side of Indonesia. In the Banda Sea where it hit, the people in northernmost Australia in Darwin felt that quake, and many people had to run out of their offices. It happened in the middle of the day in Australia, and people ran out of their offices fearing something worse. So Australia has gotten used to having quakes. This earthquake 6.1 did not happen in Australia, but they felt it over hundreds of miles. Okay? So this happens. We've been reporting on minor earthquakes, 2.3s, 2.5s, 2.7s, 3.5 small quakes. But this is the biggest quake we've reported on that's hit in Australia in quite some time.
Correct.
So that's about that. Now, Rebecca and I were talking earlier about an earthquake that hit over in the northwestern part of India at the border near Afghanistan. I want to make sure we talk about that as well. Go ahead and give us the information.
All right. Today I was looking at the chat and my friend posted a picture to me, which is on my video that I did today, that there had been a 7.2 earthquake in India. So I went and looked on EMSC and could only find the quake listed at a shallower depth. So I went and I looked at the location of the picture, and I went and looked at the location of the earthquake that occurred on EMSC. Then I looked at the data that came in for that earthquake, and I did find that it was a 6.2, 6.8, 6.5. There was a listing for a 7.2 as well. So I did go and look at the area for that earthquake, and I found out that there are houses, like little towns, that are built in the hills there, and there are people who do live there. And it hit me because I wondered if they had downgraded that earthquake because of the fact that it was out in the hills.
That's possible. They've done it before. Yeah. So no, I agree with you.
That's a big
that
downgrade.
It's very possible that they doctored that quake. They've been doctoring it for quite some time. I'm presently showing that quake on our show tonight on a slide of the USGS map. And since then, just within the last 40 minutes, we've had another earthquake of 5.3 near that same location, actually just northwest.
Those are aftershocks.
Yes, those are aftershocks.
And there's not a 5.3 aftershock for a 5. What was it, a 5.7? So
yeah.
It's not possible for it to be a 5.3 aftershock follow-up for a 5.7. It had to be a bigger earthquake.
Yeah. And we've Rebecca and all of us, I believe, has seen this over the years when we've reported these earthquakes. We've seen this happen over and over and over again. They misappropriate numbers, misappropriate the strengths of these quakes.
Correct.
I had someone ask me earlier today, why do they do that? Frankly, number one is because they don't want to worry people. Number two, they don't want to get people so worried they're going to move out of the areas. And number three, they don't want historians looking back at our day and time and seeing large quakes and even very major quakes happening. They downgrade them to the nearest. Go ahead.
The people that are in that area are people that the government doesn't really care so much about.
Yeah.
So therefore, yeah, they would downgrade the quake because they're not going to go out there and check on them. These are people that live out there and do sheep farming and goat farming.
Yeah.
They're not your everyday people that live in big cities and stuff like that.
Isn't that something, guys? These people live in towns, live in the sides of hills and caves.
Yep.
During the Afghanistan war, we had reports from soldiers having to go into some of those caves and take out terrorists that were shooting at them. So
Yep.
this doesn't surprise me.
Me either.
You know, it happens. It happens all the time. But again, how do we have a 5.3 aftershock from the 5.7 quake?
Not possible.
No, it's not.
That earthquake, when I looked at the data for that earthquake, it had to have been a lot bigger because there was too many sixes and 6.5, 6.8 listed along with that 7.2. And when
Yeah.
it first came in, it came in as a 7.2.
Yeah.
So, you know, they downgraded that quake big time all the way to 5.7.
Yeah.
That's why I did that video. Was this earthquake in India really a 7.2? And I showed the snippet of it on that video. People can decide for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Rebecca does her own program on YouTube. Rebecca, you want to talk about your program?
Yeah, I run NCWQ Explorer. I basically just point out the bigger earthquakes that happen when they happen and give people an idea where they happen. Basically, I started doing the videos that way for people that don't have Google Earth and don't have the time to go look up the earthquakes but want to know where they happened at, can look on the video and see the area, the information, and the location. There are people all around the world who do watch my videos. I'm not a huge channel. I'm more or less a sciencey channel. I do run the Facebook groups on Facebook for anybody and everybody who want to join. Ron and a lot of other people from his channel are also admins on those groups. And so y'all are welcome to those groups and the information that is provided.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I consider those his groups too, so.
Yeah, it's our groups.
Yep.
It's
As long as you're there, you put in information and you contact, it's everybody's groups, just as long as you keep it clean.
Yeah, exactly. And I encourage all of you to go show Rebecca love on her channel. She's an awesome lady. She does great work, probably better than 90% of the stuff that's out there, and she's been doing it for a lot of years.
I also do a lot of stuff on the volcanoes. I did I think 198 videos on volcanoes around the world. And at any time, if you want a map, just ask Ron and I'll get you a link for it. And you can look at all the volcanoes in whatever area you might be searching or interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Rebecca, I appreciate you coming on the air with us. You're awesome.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, anytime we can get together and do this and put out the information, I appreciate it. We can do that.
Thank you. I appreciate your inviting me. And anytime you would like me to come on, let me know.
I will do that. Hope you have a great night, dear.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. Much love. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
That was NCWQ Explorer. Rebecca came in to give us her information about this quake in Australia and also the one that hit over in India around Pakistan. A 5.7 earthquake, and guess what? It was a much bigger earthquake. Again, these people are really something. Okay? These people that put these agencies together, there are webmasters, I think, probably involved in it, but not as much as the managers at USGS and other agencies. As I pointed out last night, they openly admit that they don't put out information that they don't want to put out. And they gave reasons that they don't put it out. It does not make any sense, though, Why would you not cover events that are affecting people's lives? Why don't they put out accurate information? Again, we look here on this map. You know, and I come here almost all the time. Right up here to eastern Turkey, western Syria. Folks, we have 75 earthquakes that are hitting here every day. Rarely does USGS even acknowledge a 4.5, a 5.0, or anything else. 75 earthquakes a day. Yes, some of them are now 1.75, 2.8, 3.5, etc., and 4.5 as well. But rarely do they ever say anything about any of them. Yet they have the almighty gall to say today, for example, that we only have 193 earthquakes around the globe. Really? Really? You know, they openly say they're not going to do it. And then they say there's only 193 earthquakes around the globe. I have real problems with that. Because people are dying because they don't have the right information. Why? Because when something like this happens, folks, when something like this happens, everybody says, oh, it'll be okay tomorrow. It's okay to fly into Darwin. It's okay to fly into Perth, to some of these other towns in Australia after this earthquake's hit. USGS didn't say anything, and they check. People actually go to the USGS map and don't see anything, and they get on the airline and fly there, or they get to the airport to try to fly there, and they find out that their flight has been canceled because of the earthquake. What? Nobody said anything about that? Yeah. Everybody's asking in the chat, where's Don Patoka? Let me see. He was over here earlier putting out information on our messenger chat just a while ago, and he may not have been checking the chats. So I'm going to go over here and send him a message here in just a second here. He's got his own chat room, by the way, over here on Messenger called Donnie's Den. So I just sent him a message, and I'm hoping as well that he's okay. He may not have gotten the message because my program, one of our moderators on that messenger room is a dear friend of ours, and she put out our program on the air as being on the air. And I just sent him another message to tell him we're on the air. So I hope he gets that. I hope he sees it. He may be busy. Usually I'm not on the air at 9 p.m. at night Eastern time, but here I am because there's a lot to talk about. Okay? Now that is not the only earthquake that hit. Let's go over here to this earthquake here. This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge again. This is a 5.3 earthquake. The Northern Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Okay, I'm backing it out so you can see where it's at. Okay, it's right between Canada and Norway. Right between Canada and Norway. A large 5.3 earthquake is hit there. Now, let's go over to the Aleutian Islands. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the Aleutian Islands here. Yes, you see over here on the left-hand side, over in China, that was a 5.4 earthquake near Hebei, Shandong border of China. Okay, 5.4 magnitude earthquake, probably larger there. Also going east-northeast, the Kuril Islands that belongs to Russia also got hit. That is just barely north of Hokkaido, Japan. This is a 4.3 earthquake, 88 miles deep. Actually, 89 miles deep because it's 88.9 miles deep, so it's 89 miles deep. It's down in the asthenosphere where the plastic magma is. That's where that earthquake came from. Okay, let's go over really quick over to the Aleutian Islands. Over here is a 3.0. Now this has been battled around for quite a bit of the day today. Okay, it came out as a 4 something, and now they've downgraded it to a 3.0. Okay, look at the other earthquakes here in Alaska. Again, they're not telling everybody exactly what's happened. Over here, you see a brand new earthquake that's hit here. This is a 4.4 magnitude earthquake near Pedro Bay. Pedro Bay, Alaska. Okay, that new earthquake that hit here is a 1.6 tremor. Well, folks, what do we have here near Pedro Bay? Okay, what do we have here near Pedro Bay? Right here. Can anybody tell me what this volcano is? It's Old Ililama volcano, and it has been stirring for quite some time, and it has even occasionally been throwing off steam. Okay, so this volcano looks like it might erupt at some point in time. Again, down here south of there we have a 4.4 earthquake, and there have been many tremors in this area as well. So it's not surprising to me and most other people exactly what's going on. Okay, so that's what we have there near Old Ililama volcano. Up here near Tyanek, Alaska, this is a 2.2 earthquake here. Guess what it's near? Mount Redoubt. Look at these earthquakes around Mount Redoubt. Over here on the south side, that 2.2, 1.8 there. This is a 1.5, and this is a 1.4. But over on the north, look at this. There's another 1.8 near, supposedly near Beluga, Alaska. So we're getting hit on both the southwest and the northeast side or northeast flank of Mount Redoubt. Okay, so that's what's going on there. There's other earthquakes still up here in Denali National Park. This 2.4 minor earthquake as well. North of there, a 2.2 here in Denali National Park, and you can see all these other tremors here. Okay, no big deal, right? Everywhere where you see swarms, folks, it's only an indication of a much larger earthquake coming. Okay, a much larger earthquake coming. Now, first, before I go any further, this earthquake, and Rebecca talked about this a minute ago, this earthquake is 6.2 miles deep, supposedly. 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Not a big deal, right? Yeah. Unreal. Anyway, I want to show you one other earthquake, and then I have other things I would like to discuss with you all. Okay? Over here, just south of New Zealand. Okay? Just south of New Zealand. South of South Park, New Zealand. This is a 4.5 magnitude earthquake. A moderate earthquake off the southwest coast of New Zealand. Okay? 80 miles west of Riverton, New Zealand. 4.5 moderate quake. Guess what? 24.3 kilometers deep. This is a shallow quake as well. A very shallow quake as well. Further north here, this actually happened yesterday, we reported on it yesterday, is a 4.2 earthquake. This one is 350 miles deep. Okay? Like I pointed out yesterday, this earthquake is probably going to be responsible for a 5.5, 5.7 large earthquake. These deep earthquakes propagate larger, more shallow quakes. Larger, more shallow quakes. So we're going to have another very large earthquake somewhere probably within this region. Tonga, Fiji, Vanuatu to the west, Solomon Islands to the west, or even over here in Papua New Guinea, right in here. Or that seismic energy could go east, and it's done that before, over here to Chile and Argentina. Now, one of the reasons I came over here is because these guys over in Argentina have had a 6.2 earthquake. A very strong 6.2 earthquake. And I have not had any data from this earthquake either. As we get more information about this quake, I'll be passing it on to you. But this is a very strong 6.2 magnitude earthquake near Santiago del Estero, Argentina. Santiago del Estero, Argentina. A very strong 6.2 magnitude earthquake that's hit today. And this is pretty serious. It happened at 3:20 a.m. this morning Eastern Time. So I believe this was during their daytime. Okay? So people would have noticed it. They would have noticed if they've been thrown out of the beds in the middle of the night. But they would have been here, and we still are waiting to get information from Argentina about this earthquake, and I will be bringing that to you. Northwest of there, this is the Chile-Argentine border. This is a 4.4 earthquake. This is 108 miles deep. This is also down in the asthenosphere, where this 6.2 was 121 miles deep in the asthenosphere as well. Okay? Out near the west coast of Chile, Antofagasta, Chile, another 4.8 moderate earthquake. That also could have been a 5.0. This is 42 miles deep, also down below the crust of the earth in the asthenosphere, again where the plastic magma is. And these are not the only earthquakes that have hit here in South America. Again, they make it look like, oh, there's nothing going on. There's about 18 or 19 earthquakes that hit here in South America today. Okay, north of there, this is a 5.1 near Camina, Chile. Camina, Chile, Tarapaca, Chile. Okay, it's a province of Chile. 5.1 earthquake here, large earthquake. Okay, 28 miles away. Yes, that town has inhabitants. That town would have felt it being 28 miles away. Okay, now over here between Ecuador and Peru, we had another 4.7 earthquake here, and they have not given us any information here about it. 4.7 earthquake can be, well, it's not going to be dangerous necessarily, but it can be damaging. But they didn't report on that either. We've talked about this before. This is insane what they don't report. Okay? It's literally insane. Now I want to get onto something else. And I think this, what we're going to be talking about now, is also very important. Okay? We have some intelligence from the National Weather Service. We have a tropical storm off the coast of Baja California. And here I get, every time I get talking about the Baja or Mexico, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I used to speak Spanish, or some Spanish anyway. And some people say, oh, Ron, you have a Spanish accent. I even catch myself pronouncing these locations in Spanish as well. But folks, we have a tropical storm down here near the Baja, just south of the Baja. You can see it over here on this image. Okay, this is a very good image of where this storm is. It's just barely off the Riviera of Mexico. You can see Guadalajara further to the east. You see Manzanillo. Manzanillo is listed here. You can see the outer bands of the tropical storm hitting Puerto Rico. Or not Puerto Rico, I'm sorry. Puerto Vallarta. I don't know why I said that. Puerto Vallarta here. Puerto Vallarta is over here, just west of Guadalajara in this cove here. Okay, you can see that little bit of a cove there. That's a harbor there in Puerto Rico. Also, besides Manzanillo, there's Acapulco, Zihuatanejo, and other villages and towns there that are tourist traps. Very pretty areas, beautiful areas, and they're getting the leading outer edge of this tropical storm, meaning they're getting heavy rain and they're going to probably experience flooding in these areas. Okay, this tropical storm is called Eugene, and Tropical Storm Eugene has a lot of rain. Okay, it's Tropical Depression 6E in the eastern Pacific here, strengthened into a tropical storm today, earlier today. According to the National Hurricane Center, Eugene is expected to maintain tropical storm intensity, though early Tuesday it's going to start weakening. Some forecast models show the storm taking a right turn late next week, which would put what's left of that system heading for Baja California Peninsula, or possibly as far as Southern California, San Diego. Tropical Storm Eugene is a good-sized storm, as you can see. It's, however, not organized. It has a very weak eye. Okay? As the Weather Service said, it's going to downgrade very rapidly in the next couple days, between now and Tuesday afternoon, even Tuesday morning. Okay? As of 3 p.m. today, this afternoon's satellite presentation of the system has improved, with a well-developed curved band in its eastern side. Okay, you see that going over the beautiful tourist area of Mexico there. It's unreal. But you see that semicircle of the outer band over landfall there. Okay? And a recent burst of a deep convection with minus 75 Celsius cloud tops. Minus 75 Celsius cloud tops, just east of the surface circulation. Based on this and a consensus of the objective intensity estimates, the system is being upgraded to Tropical Storm Eugene, making it the 5th tropical storm of the eastern North Pacific hurricane season. The 5th. Although some dry mid-tropic spheric air is originating from mainland Mexico, this may be negatively affecting the cyclone's intensification rate, as indicated by the presence of a few arc clouds that you see there. It's going to be a brief window of opportunity that still may exist for further strengthening during the next day or so, but after that it's expected to fall apart. By the mid-period around Tuesday, Eugene is expected to move over cooler water west of Baja California Peninsula, and it's going to enter a surrounding dry and stable marine layer air mass. So the National Hurricane Center forecast is calling for the cyclone to degenerate to a remnant low within the next 72 hours or so, possibly sooner. The dissipation of this this hurricane is supposed to be taking place within the next 5 days. At the earliest, Tuesday. It's going to completely dissipate within probably 5 days. The initial estimated motion is northwestward at 13 knots. Northwestern at in a northwestern direction at 13 knots. The track forecast philosophically remains unchanged, and Eugene should move generally northwestward in the short term within the southeasterly mid-level steering flow provided by the subtropical ridge in that area to the north. By 48 hours, the vertically shallow cyclone should turn toward the west-northwest in the lower boundary trade wind flow, while a reduction in forward speed takes place, because all of a sudden it will hit cooler water and drier air mass from Mexico. Okay, then it will possibly meander out there before dissipating this coming week. The update hurricane forecast is very similar to the previous critical forecast and lies near the various consensus models, although the forecast track currently is off the southwestern coast of Mexico. Enough uncertainty still exists that interest in the southern portion of Baja California Peninsula should monitor the progress of this storm. Like they said, things could change and it could go up as far north as San Diego. But by then, it will only be a tropical depression. San Diego would get hit with maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain as a result of this storm. However, there's some other storm out there that we need to talk about. This is Hurricane Dorian. Hurricane Dorian was upgraded from a tropical storm to a hurricane earlier today. Hurricane Dora is expected to move on a path that would generally keep it well south of the Hawaiian Islands early this week. Hurricane Dora is just a small storm. It's rapidly intensifying here in the eastern Pacific, and is forecast to become a major hurricane later today. Hurricane Dora was 575 miles southwest of the southern tip of Baja as of 5 p.m. today. Okay? I'm sorry, not 5 p.m., 5 a.m. today. 575 miles southwest of the southern tip of Baja California. Dora continues to rapidly intensify this morning and ongoing through today. Why? It's still hitting the warm waters around Mexico. Overnight infrared and first light visible satellite imagery indicates that Dora has a small but tight inner core. And you can see that eye here in this particular photograph. That's why I put it up for you. Okay? It's starting to emerge from the central dense overcast cirrus clouds that are in the hurricane. Dora is moving toward the west at nearly 16 miles per hour. That's pretty fast for a hurricane. Hurricane force winds measured at 105 miles per hour extend outward from the center of Dora up to 10 miles away, making Dora a small hurricane. Dora continues to move just south of due west at about 14 knots. Now let me show you this. I'm going to show you the cone of uncertainty where Dora is. This is something that we need to be watching, that we should be watching very intensely, because things could change very rapidly within the next few days. You can see here the cone of uncertainty, the time and days that it's traveling, as it's going to increase in size as it's over warmer waters. Okay? The track reasoning here has not changed much over the past day, with a well-established deep layer ridge to the north of Dora, expecting to steer the system westward to west-southwest for most of the forecast period. The latest National Hurricane Center track continues to show that it is nearly on top of the previous forecast track. In other words, it hasn't meandered anywhere. It's on top of the track. It's staying centered. It possibly even just a bit faster by the end of today. Afterwards, Dora's small inner core that we see here, the eye of the hurricane could begin to undergo structural changes. Structural changes. The eye wall could change several times before it becomes stronger. As the hurricane becomes stronger and stronger, the eye wall changes. Okay? So we're going to see an eye wall replacement cycle. The guidance also shows easterly wind shear increasing over the system at the sea surface, which makes Dora very dangerous. The temperatures are going to gradually decrease down to 27 degrees centigrade. A combination of these factors could result in some gradually weakening because the hurricane will be over slightly cooler waters, which is reflected in the latest hurricane intensity forecast 36 hours ago. The small size of Dora could make the system more prone to rapid intensity changes. If it grows stronger, things could change rapidly. The national forecast from the Hurricane Center in Miami indicates Hurricane Dora will cross 140 degrees west latitude into the central Pacific late this weekend. The hurricane service in Honolulu on Wednesday morning this week said thereafter Dora is expected to move on a path that would generally keep it well south of the Hawaiian Islands. Well south of the Hawaiian Islands early this week. However, trade wind speeds Monday and Tuesday are going to cause some problems around the Big Island and any other south-facing beaches of the Hawaiian Islands. As this deep layer, and it's a deep high, it's a forecast high to the northeast builds westward, it's going to increase and probably will push Hurricane Dora south-southwest. Okay? Winds could become strong as the trade wind flow becomes quite dry. Okay? Winds could become strong as the trade wind flow becomes dry air. Okay? Forecasters have noted that the drought index values, meaning dry air, will potentially exceed 600. An index of 600, which for the first time this summer, as Dora passes south, will bring red flag fire conditions to Hawaii, meaning dry westerly winds coming out of the west, okay, which could increase fire danger in Hawaii. The potential for a near advisory east swell may be generated by Hurricane Dora, which will impact east-southeast facing shorelines early this coming week. The east swell remains highly reliant on Dora's track intensity and the size of what they call the fetch. Okay? So that's a story on Hurricane Dora. A lot of people have been talking about it, so I wanted to show it to you. Now, there's been some talk about this story about a drug lab in basically southeastern California, the Fresno area. I wanted to play this clip for you because this will explain a lot of what's going on, and then I have my own impact on this story. Let's watch this news clip coming out of Fresno.
Our investigation into the illegal medical lab operating in Reedley uncovers new details.
Fresno County Assistant Director of Public Health, Joe Prado, says, and court documents show, people associated with the lab told Reedley City and Fresno County officials they were located in China. We asked Prado, were with
these are individual.
Okay, let me back it up. I want you to hear this.
asked Prado whether or not the Chinese government, and here's what he said.
I can't confirm the connections to Chinese government. These are individuals, business owners that they've represented themselves to us that they live in China. That's to the extent that we are aware of. But confirmation to the government, I do not have any information in regards to that.
And that is not the only important information that we are learning here at 5. CBS 47's Medeiros Babb with what she has uncovered.
In my hands are the hundreds of documents about the horrors and dangerous nature of the illegal Reedley lab that was exposed several months ago by a city code enforcement officer. What was found inside a letter calling it a potential disaster for the city. Nearly 1,000 overcrowded bioengineered mice, vials of blood, and this list of infectious diseases, including malaria, E. coli, chlamydia, COVID, and many others. That was what was found. A city code illegal lab in December. The company moved in from its Fresno location to Reedley in October of 2022, just a little over a month before the lab was discovered. For the first half of 2023, the process of cleaning the Reedley location was stuck in court. The hazardous electricity wires without permits, including added outlets for running refrigerators and freezers, unmarked stored highly flammable chemicals, and medical devices in cardboard boxes, made fire probability high and the risk of a possible explosion. That's what prompted Reedley Fire Chief Jerry Isaac to send this letter to the Reedley City Manager. In it, the chief outlined a planned evacuation zone in case of an emergency, which included the City of Reedley Police Department, Reedley City Hall, Kings Canyon Unified School District main office, and 12 homes. Due to a gas station right next door, the chief wrote in the letter that, quote, the concern increased of a potential disaster for our city, end quote. The letter was instrumental in the city getting warrants to go inside of the property, and since then, the city, county, FBI, CDC, and other state and local health agencies have been approved to start cleaning it up. In April, they euthanized over 700 of the mice. The beginning of July, chemicals were removed, and right now, the cleanup continues. The removal of chemicals and other products will continue in the coming days and months, and city and county officials want to make it clear to the public that the public is not in as nearly as much danger as it was back in April when the letter from the chief was written, especially because since then, the electricity has been turned off and several hazards have been removed.
Okay, several hazards have been removed. Now, I want to give you some idea of what this has caused. Okay, I've been searching in documents. I've been all over the place about this case. Okay, and before I even begin, I need to preface this by saying a criminal investigation is ongoing. A criminal investigation is ongoing. This has not stopped. This has not stopped, guys. It's been ongoing for a while now. Since April, when this was first discovered. We don't know when it actually started. We can only surmise or even guess as to what happened here. But you saw the video of boxes and boxes of everything. Some of those boxes have not even been opened. They've discovered all kinds of drugs. They've discovered all kinds of chemicals, and many people don't even understand what those chemicals are right now. This is a discovery phase. Okay? That reporter that you see here before you said she has hundreds of documents in front of her. I have copies of those documents as well. What was in that lab? Found in California? Photos show blood vials, disease samples that she described there. And according to court documents, officials with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention out on the southeast coast tested what they could, and they determined that at least 20 potentially infectious vials, bacterial and parasitic agents were present. 20 potential infectious viral, bacterial, and parasitic agents were present, including E. coli, malaria, and the virus that causes COVID-19, and even HIV. Court documents detail the horrors and the dangerous nature of the illegal lab found in Reedley, California. It's been exposed now for several months by city code enforcement officers, and now everybody and their dog is in on it.
Okay.
California state, local, and federal officials are there. The fire chief wrote that letter that she talked about, describing it as a potential disaster for the city. And as a result, the city manager went to the courts and got a warrant to search the building in its entirety. I've also got a copy of that warrant. Okay? An investigation into the warehouse was prompted by a single garden hose sticking out of a doorway. Let me show you that. It was right there. Actually, it was not a doorway, but a wall. A single garden hose sticking out of a wall. Now that's illegal. That's illegal in the state of California. Okay? The fire chief said, frankly, we knew that we should not have been there. That should not have been there. And when she went to investigate, the code enforcement officer found that there was activity or an operation or something happening within that building. Again, that's city code or city manager Nicole Zyba that's telling us this. The city then obtained the search warrant that I mentioned to look inside about what should have been an ordinary warehouse. Inside, like I said, they saw and found thousands of vials, many of which contained biohazardous materials like human blood and other unknown substances. There was over 800 different chemicals on site in different bottles and of different acids as well. Unfortunately, a lot of these now have been categorized under unknown chemicals. Because guess what? Whoever's in on this operation took the labels off the vials and off the bottles. A lot of labels have been removed from bottles, so there is only so much testing that they so far have been able to do on these chemicals. Like I said, the CDC has also been notified about this, and they've been testing whatever they've been able to get. Health officials have also discovered nearly 1,000 lab mice, of which 200 are dead. 200 were dead. Prado said the warehouse occupants claimed that they were doing some testing on laboratory mice that would help them support and develop COVID test kits that they had on site. According to court documents, officials with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention tested what they could, and they determined that at least 20 potential infectious viral, bacterial, and parasitic agents were present. Okay? For the first half of 2023, since April, the process of cleaning the Reedley location was stuck in court because of all kinds of issues. Electrical issues, which they finally had the electricity turned off. That was one of the biggest things, the possibility of fire. And you saw those electrical cords, you saw those exposed outlets and everything. And with acids and other fumes in that area, that was just a horrible emergency and disaster just waiting to happen. All those chemicals and highly flammable chemicals that were there, unreal. Officials were worried about the risk of a possible explosion, which prompted the Reedley fire chief, Jerry Isaac, to send that letter to the city manager. And it outlined the planned evacuation zone. in case of an incident at the warehouse. The evacuation zone around the warehouse, okay, which included the Reedley Police Department, the Reedley City Hall, the main office of Kings Canyon Unified School District, and homes in the area as well. Also, get this, due to a gas station next door to the warehouse, the fire chief wrote in a letter that the concerned increase of a potential disaster for our city, with the gas station being right next door. Now, the fire chief's letter was instrumental in getting the city warrants to go into the property. Since then, city, county, state, and federal agencies have all been approved to go in. When this first was found out by code enforcement in April, government officials euthanized over 700 of the mice that were found inside. Like I said, 200 of them were dead. At the beginning of July, the chemicals were removed as well, and the removal of the chemicals and other products will continue into the coming months. City officials want to make it clear to the public at this point in time that they are not nearly in as much danger as they were in April when this was found. At least there are no more biologicals on site. There are no more mice, but they will still see the state, city, and federal government abating this area. 30 freezers and fridges, medical equipment, and all sorts of furniture are in there. They'll still see some activity, nothing hazardous at this point. In a statement, the California Health Department, the California Department of Health revealed that their staff managers are working with local, state, and federal partners, as well as law enforcement authorities, to assess this situation, adding that it is an ongoing investigation that will take time to resolve. A criminal investigation is ongoing. Now, I have some real concerns, as most of you probably have as well, especially those of you that live in this area. And I understand there's many people there. There's a lot of people. Michael McKinney says dangerous stuff. I still believe, even though they said they've ridded the area of chemicals, I still believe there's a lot of dangerous stuff going on. Now, they mentioned those vials of viruses. There's 20 different viruses that they've discovered, and I have a copy of all of them. I've got a copy of all of them, and it's not good. Okay? It's not good at all. And as we go through this, I'm going to keep a very close eye on everything. I promise you that I will keep an eye on every little thing that happens here, because there's a bigger story yet to see. I've only touched on this, okay? But I see bigger fingers in the noodles, okay? I see bigger fingers in the noodles of this. And it's not just because of the bacterial agents that are there. Okay? Why am I concerned about that? Because, folks, these bacterial agents, the parasitic agents, the vials of disease-causing material are usually housed in deep freezes at 4 or 5 points around this world. One of them being a huge deep freeze just outside of Denver, Colorado, at the Denver Federal Center. A huge deep freeze is located there, and there are several others around the world where they have these deep freezes of these biologicals. Now, during the past few years, we've seen some biologicals all of a sudden come out of nowhere. Literally. U.S. authorities had almost stopped a lot of diseases from going on, including polio. And all of a sudden, there's now an outbreak of polio here in the United States and other places. Out of nowhere. Measles and mumps as well. And other diseases as well. And as you heard on that report, even COVID, SARS, was found there. And those people that were there tried to pass it off as doing research. 20 other viruses are there. Okay? So I have real reservations about what's going on. Michael McKinney says, there goes my appetite. I hope not. Okay? I'm not trying to stir anything up. I'm not trying to stir anything up. But already I see other people's fingers in this. Okay? And like I said, I'm going to keep close tabs on this. I heard some people talking about it, and they had real concerns. And I wanted to pass this information on to everyone that monitors this program. And I want to make sure everybody is aware of it. Millions and millions of people live in California. Tens of thousands of people live around Fresno and the Sacramento area. Tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. If something would have happened, it would have been disastrous, as that fire chief said. But there's another concern that I have. In that same area, we have an Air Force base. Ridley, California is near Lemoore Air Force Base. Okay? That's another consideration that I've been looking at. Another one is the mice that were genetically made to carry the virus. The mice that were genetically made to carry the virus. Have any of the other mice that were carrying the virus been released? If so, how many? That question has not even been answered yet, nor possibly even asked. That's a big question. They found 200 mice dead. 700 other plus mice they euthanized. What happened to the other 100? There were supposedly 1,000 mice. Okay? Nearly 200 dead. 700 euthanized. What about the other ones? What's going on? What's going on? I cannot believe that this has not become a bigger story. I got the information out of Channel 7 coming out of Fresno. I've given you guys a link in my program description tonight. It's there. I wanted to make sure that everyone could go see for yourselves what is going on. Like I said, I have an ongoing investigation myself. And as my program description comes on the video, it says I am an investigator. I investigate the stories, and I do. And this story, I'm not going to give up on. Yes, they have police and law enforcement investigators from the city, state, and even the federal government. Well, guess what? I am also an investigator. And yes, I'm part of the alternative media. And I'm not going to let up. But I have another question. Why have we not heard from the mayor? We've heard from the city manager. We've heard from the fire chief. Why have we not heard from the mayor? Where is Governor Newscomb? Where is Governor Newscomb? I've had people tell me that Newscomb may also have his fingers in the dough. I don't know for sure. That's just rumor that I've heard, and I don't like spreading rumors. But with everything going on, it would not surprise me. And he'll go and deny it, and he'll raise all sorts of hell about it. But what else have they had their fingers in? That's all I'm saying. Deborah G says the rapture's coming. It can't come soon enough, guys. It just can't come soon enough. Like I said, I've been looking at this and looking at this and looking at this, and I'm not satisfied with any of it. Not even one piece of the story. It bothers me to no end to even see this. Now, I promised you guys that we would talk about pet emergencies. I'm a certified emergency manager. I am certified in pet preparedness, animal preparedness, and disaster preparedness. Okay? So I want to spend my remaining time that I told you I would be doing today, talking about our pet preparedness. I think this is absolutely vital. In the past years that I've been doing this program, I have seen a lot of pets mistreated before, during, and after disasters. I've seen pets just let go to be on their own during a major disaster. Dogs and cats and other animals found dead. One such area, the Coast Guard with life-saving boats saw dogs treading water in a fenced-in chain-link fence kennel. Dogs treading water. How long have they been treading water? The Coast Guard rescued those dogs and put them on dry land and fed them clean water and clean food. Who did that? No, we don't have any answers to who did that. But I've seen it done more times than I want to think about. I've seen pets, all kinds of animals, small to large, horses and cows, just let go to be on their own during any given disaster, fires and flooding. Those poor animals have been taken care of. Those poor animals have families. And I don't care what anyone thinks. Those families should be responsible for their animals, their children. One lady had the gall to tell me a couple years ago that she did not have room in her car to take her animals with her. She would take her kids and leave her animals behind. And I told her if I ever found her doing that, she'd be facing jail time. And I mean that very sincerely. Do not leave your animals on their own to fend for themselves in an emergency. If those animals die, it will be on you. Because if they can be traced to you, you're done for. Presently, there are laws prohibiting that kind of action. When a disaster strikes, it is crucial that you and our families, all of our families, stay safe. That includes our pets, birds, dogs, cats, lemurs, I can't even think of all the animals that I've seen in people's homes. By having a plan, we keep talking about emergency plans all the time. We keep talking about having an emergency plan. How many people are listening to me? How many people have an emergency plan? I've told all of you on many occasions that back in 2014, FEMA did a study, a poll, asked one question: how many emergency managers here in the United States had a 72-hour kit? Weeks went by. The results of that poll came out weeks later, showing 24% of emergency managers having an emergency preparedness kit. We have been asked, not just by FEMA, but our local area supervisors and local area emergency managers, to make sure that we talk about emergency preparedness plans. And I have done that on many occasions on this program during the past almost 4.5 years now. Emergency plan is essential for your salvation. An emergency plan is absolutely essential if you plan on surviving any kind of emergency. Nearly any kind of emergency could lead to your death or serious injury if you don't have a plan. That's number one. By having a plan and practicing it. Practicing your plan, having a drill with you and your family and other loved ones that live there with you. You can be prepared to act at a moment's notice should a major event come your way, which it will. A lot of people said, I don't have to worry about it, nothing's going to happen to me, and it does. Disasters and emergencies happen when we least expect it. So tonight, I'm talking about pets and pet preparedness. Before the emergency happens, microchip your pets and put a tag on their collar with your name, address, and your phone number. Microchip your pets, meaning that a centralized location that takes care of animal chipping will be able to have your address, your name, and telephone number so they can locate you if your animal gets away from you during any kind of disaster, or if the animal just gets out from your door or your yard or wherever you keep your animals. Microchip your pets, put a tag on their collar. I have a tag on all my kids' collars here. I have got 2 Chihuahuas, 14-year-old Chihuahuas that act like newborn dogs. In case they become separated from me, they're also microchipped. Be sure that any microchip information is up to date. That's the other issue. A lot of people microchip their pets and don't keep anything up to date. If you move, you need to go over and call that microchip company and tell them your new address. Inform them of your new telephone number, your location. Keep everything up to date. Second, tie down or anchor outside objects that could fly about and injure someone in a windstorm, during a tornado, or a hurricane, or a fire. Tie down or anchor furniture, patio furniture, lawn furniture, or anything that might fly about and injure you or your animals. Okay? Another one. Have a plan. Have a plan. How many times have I said having a plan? My friend Don Patokas here in the chat. He says, I keep hearing I can't do this, I can't do that. Can't never did anything. The word can't do anything. It never did anything. I can does everything. The word I can, or two words, I can does everything. Mental conditioning and proactive action is paramount. Thank you, Don. You said it. I repeated it. Don't tell me you can't. You can. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, let somebody know about it that can take care of it for you and will take care of it for you. Don't just leave it up to chance, because you and or your pet could die if you don't. It's paramount. Now, if you're scared, maybe you should be. If you don't have your crap squared away, you should be terrified. If you don't have a plan, if you have not exercised that plan, like bugging out, like I told you about, having at least 3 different routes to a bug out location, in case one of those roads is closed, or there's a roadblock there, where police and National Guard or Army or whoever's out there checking IDs, making sure you don't leave your city. Yes, that happens. I've seen it. Roadblocks. Accidents happening on a roadway when people are evacuating their towns or cities. All it takes is one accident to have 1,000 or 5,000 cars backed up, closing down that roadway. All it takes is one accident. Many times there's more than that. 2, 3, 4, or even 5 accidents on that same roadway that you're on, because everybody's trying to get out of Dodge. Make sure you have already established 3 separate bug out routes. Have them marked out on a map, and have that map as a part of your emergency preparedness plan in your emergency preparedness case, your supplies. Make sure you have that. I mentioned putting maps and any other paperwork in plastic baggies. Please do that. That way you keep them fresh, as if you just made them. No water damage or anything. There'll be no chance of you missing any information if they're protected. Okay? Please do that. Now, if you have 3 routes, you need to also have at least 3 different locations you'd want to go to. And you need to visit each and every one of those locations before there's an emergency. Why? Because, folks, what happens when all of a sudden 1 or 2 of those locations fill up and you can't get in? What are you going to do then? You need to have at least 3 separate locations and visit each and every one of those locations. And you can even talk to the people that manage those properties to make sure you can still be there. City, state parks. City and state parks. Consider that. Consider even national parks, where you might only be able to stay for days or a couple weeks at a time. At least you'll be getting away from the evacuated area that you live in, a hazardous area where you live in. And all the weeks and months that we've been talking about everything that's happening around us, there is so much that could happen at the drop of a pen. The drop of a pin. And all of a sudden, all HE double toothpicks is going to drop all over us. Nobody can plan for that, but yes, you can. I've been told many times, oh, we can't plan for that. Yes, you can. A coordinated plan written down will get you everywhere. Without a plan, that's not going to get you anywhere. Plain and simple. My best friend, one of my best friends, my ma, Don, is here. He says each category should consider scenarios for nuclear, biological, chemical, and other agents. Other things that could happen. You also need to consider what, who, when, where, and why, and even how something happened. Consider all those. Water, we told you about food and water. You have to have food and water. We talked to you about food storage and even rationing of food when things become bad, which they are. Medical. You need to have the prescription drugs that you need for an emergency. You need to have them. Please. Also, shelter. Shelter, what are you going to do? Have you ever camped before? Do you have tents? Other camping equipment? Sleeping bags? Take all that stuff with you. Take all of it with you. All of it. You're going to need it. I promise you, you will need it. Okay? Water, food, medical, and how about protection? Protection. I keep talking about this all the time. How are you going to protect yourselves? I want you to protect yourselves as well. Consider something to protect yourselves. Don't forget that. That's one at the top of the list. Protection. Protection. How about having intelligence, information? I'm not talking about mental intelligence. Yes, you have to have some kind of intelligence about you all the time. But how about intelligence about what is out there in your area? What could hurt you? What could benefit you? Food, places to eat, hotels, buildings, outside community areas, farms. What is out in your area? Where could you go? Consider that. Consider sanitation. What are you going to do to make sure that you have the necessary supplies to take care of your bodily functions and those of your family? Sanitation is also going to be a big issue because that can lead to all other kinds of diseases happening. We don't want to contribute to a sanitation problem during an emergency. Another thing is power. Another thing is power. In fact, I've got it over here on my windowsill right now. I've got backup power for my phones and my other electrical devices. So I can do almost anything I want with my electrical devices. I have solar panels and I have storage batteries to have power for emergencies. I've got food in freezers. Yes, that could be a problem if the power goes out, but if you prepare, you make sure you have power to power your refrigerator and freezer, you might come out ahead, way ahead of everybody else. Consider that. Communications, we talked about radios, ham radios, police scanners. We've talked about family radio service handheld walkie-talkies. Some of those walkie-talkies are very, very good. You can get a pair of those family radio service radios for about 20 bucks, 30 bucks, 45 bucks for some of the best ones. And those communications can go 2 or 3 miles or more, depending on circumstances. We've talked about radios, communication. You need to be able to communicate with your family members. A police radio will be able to keep you connected with what's going on around you, your local community. Okay? Know what's going on in your community. Keep a finger on the pulse of your community. Know when there's parties, when there's concerts going on in your town, free concerts. Every Friday night here in Morganton and over in Valdese and other communities around me, they have free family concerts. Know what's going on. Know how many people go there. Hundreds of people go to those concerts. Did you know that? That might be a place where you might be going and have a disaster or an emergency happen. Know what's going on in your communities in order to stay in front of everything. Don Patoka says, in order to prevail. That's the truth, guys. Things are happening all over our planet. As I said, and the reason I talked about it is because we're going to be talking about this tonight. Preparedness. Preparedness. Nobody knew about that chemical lab, just like the ones in UKR. Nobody even knew about it until April. And then they kept it hush-hush. They kept it hush-hush. And all of a sudden the information comes out on the news. And they still kept it hush-hush. It hasn't even reached the national news. I've got a problem with that. They don't want anybody to know. Why? Who else is involved? Who else is involved? And why are they involved? Was it planned? I have a feeling it was planned. To have those many viruses, those many chemicals in that building that the city and the county and the state didn't even know about. That's a clandestine lab, an illegal lab. In order for them to be doing business like that, they need a permit from the city, the county, and the state to be operating a lab. That wasn't present, was it? Nobody knew about it, did they? Unfortunately, this happens in a lot of our communities. Be aware of what's going on around you. Now, there's something else that I want to talk about here. You and I have stresses and dangers that are heaped on our shoulders every day. And things happen. And I give that to you. Things happen. You and I want to make sure our children, yes, our two-legged and our four-legged children, and those children that fly around on their wings, we need to make sure that we give our animals and our children safe passage through life. Sometimes things happen and our children die. Okay? I totally understand that as well. But we must do our utmost to keep our pets alive and our children alive. Okay? Now, I want to talk to you about all of this. I'm not going to forget anything. I've got a complete manuscript to make sure I don't. I want to cover everything. Everybody needs to see this plan. Everybody needs to see this program. So right now, I want you guys to pass this information on. This program is vitally important. Again, I put this in the title of the program, Preparedness. EMA News Preparedness. Every program that I put out that has preparedness in the title is vitally important to everybody, and it should be seen. Before the emergency, microchip your pets. We talked about that. Tie down objects outside your home so they won't be flying around and injure someone or your pets. Have a plan already established where family members are responsible for your pet's needs, or who will grab the pet, the food, the medications, the water, the disaster preparedness kits, the pet carriers. Know a safe place where your pets can go if you need to evacuate or seek shelter. A lot of shelters will allow you to keep your pets with you nowadays. A lot of hotels also allow pets. Evacuation destinations may include a friend or a family member's home. Going to a pet-friendly hotel or a temporary housing your pets at a boarding facility. That happens a lot. We've seen that during fires. But I just heard about an instance where animals were just let go. Horses and chickens, goats and sheep, left out on their own to fend for themselves with an approaching fire. That is so wrong. The other thing I heard was people were stealing animals. People were actually asking people to help them with their animals. And people were showing up and stealing those animals. They used paint to temporarily put their mark, their brand on their animals so it wouldn't come off readily. People are stealing their animals. Don't let that happen to yours. That's why we're talking about this tonight. Plan multiple routes to your safe destination. We talked about that. Review your evacuation plan and double check your emergency supplies, including medications, bowls, water, and food, just like you do for yourself. Evacuate your family and pets as early as you possibly can. Don't wait. Do not wait until a sheriff comes knocking on your door telling you to get out now. Usually there will be evacuation notices issued on your phones. During and before emergencies really get going, notices will be issued through your emergency carriers on your phone. EMS messages. Okay, and we're going to be talking about EMS on Monday or Tuesday this coming week. I have some important information that came out that I was told earlier this week not to release as of yet, and someone put it out already. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. But you need to evacuate early on. Don't get caught up in huge traffic jams because you waited. That traffic jam could get you all killed. I've seen it happen. Remember to take your disaster preparedness kit for your pets, i.e. your first aid kit for the pets and yours, leashes, the pets' carrying cases, their carriers, their bowls, sanitation materials, bags, and even wet wipes or something to pick up their feces to properly dispose of it, medications, chew toys, or their other toys. You need to have enough supplies, not just for you, but for your pets, for a minimum of 3 days. ideally 7 to 10 days or even 3 weeks. For food, medicine, water, you should always have your veterinarian's contact information. Have your veterinarian's contact information. A photo of you and your pet together to properly establish ownership of that animal. A photo of you and your pet together to properly establish ownership. Bring outdoor animals inside with a large enough carrier for them to turn around in and lie comfortably down in. Don't have them in a small carrier where they can't turn around or even lay down. A large enough carrier for them to turn around and lie down comfortably. Have a carrier ready for emergencies. Portable carriers should be ready to go at a moment's notice. Practice loading your cats and dogs and other small animals into pet carriers before you absolutely have to. If your family must evacuate, take your pets with you. How many times have I said that? During an emergency, if you cannot evacuate, choose a safe room for riding out the storm if it's a storm or any other emergency. Choose a safe place in your home where you and your entire family, including your pets, can be with you. Stay with your family, stay with your animals, stay with your pets. If crated, they depend on you for food and water. Don't leave pets in vehicles. Please do not leave pets in vehicles. Keep your emergency kit in that room with you. Food, water, medications, litter boxes if necessary, medicine. Keep it with you. Know your pet's hiding places. My dogs like to hide. I know for a fact I used to have a cat. Cats like to hide. Other animals like to hide too. Know their hiding places. That's where they may run to get away from whatever emergency they find. Whether it's sirens going off outside your house. Yes, my dogs become very alert. They know what sirens are. If they get upset, you might get upset because they'll start howling or crying. They're going to want comfort. You are their father and their mother, literally. You are there to help take care of your kids and your pets. Please do it. They need it too. Secure exits and cat and dog doors so pets cannot escape the room you're in. Secure those pet doors so your pets cannot get out during an emergency. This is such vital information for all of us, especially if it becomes nuclear or gas in your area. Secure all doors and all windows. Something else that I've seen people do, which gripes me to no end, I get pissed, I get mad. Do not tranquilize your pets. Do not tranquilize your pets. Do not euthanize your pets just because you have an emergency. They need their survival instincts as well, should that emergency storm arrive. They need their wits about them as well. They deserve that. Don't take that away from them. Make sure the emergency is fully passed before going back outside, and assess damages before allowing your children or your pets out. Keep dogs and cats on leashes and other small animals. Keep a carrier there for them and your children close at hand. Displaced objects, down power lines, fallen trees can disorient anybody or injure anyone, including pets. And sharp debris could harm you and them as well. You need to keep this in the top of your mind. Give pets time to become reoriented. Familiar scents and landmarks may be altered and cause a pet to become confused or even lost. And then they will run. Keep them with you, especially if a car crashes or a tree falls down, large or small. Or say your house comes tumbling down. They're going to be scared out of their minds just as you will. Give your pets time to be reoriented. Become familiar with scents and landmarks that could have been altered and cause your pet to be confused or lost. Help alleviate some of that stress related to becoming displaced. That includes if you have to bug out and go to another place to live or to be safe. Give your animals time to become comfortable with your new location. Uncertainty and change in the environment affects animals too. Uncertainty and change in the environment, yours and theirs, can affect animals too, presenting new stresses and new dangers. Consider that in the forefront of your mind with you, your children, and your pets. Your pet's behavior may change after a crisis, and they may become more aggressive or even self-protective. Be sensitive to these changes. Keep more room between them and other animals and children or strangers. Animals need comforting too. Animals and children need comforting too. Comfort your pet with kind, thought-out words and lots of pats and hugs if possible. If possible, also provide a safe and quiet environment for them and you, even if it is not in their own home. Very important. Provide a safe and quiet environment for them, even if it is not in their own home that they were used to being in. Okay? That's all I have to tell you tonight about pet preparedness. I've got a huge book that I ought to write. It's already written. I ought to put it together. But I have more information to give you another time. I want to make sure you have this. This is vital for your safety and your pet's safety as well. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know we've talked a lot about this, and now we've been on the air a very long time, and I apologize for that. But folks, I thought it was absolutely a mandatory thing that I get on the air about. We have a lot of people that were with this program that live in Australia, and I hope some of them or all of them send us information that we can pass on to all of you about that large earthquake in southwestern Australia. We try to get as much information as we possibly can, and I again will pass that information on as far as possible. I appreciate Rebecca, NCWQ from Explorer, for being here with me tonight. She's an awesome resource. Please go to her channel and give her some love. It's important we support each other. It's very important. Now, Don Patoka just mentioned it. I want to mention it too. You cannot go without water for very long. In areas such as where I live, it got up to almost 100 degrees here. Many other places such as Utah and Arizona and Nevada and Idaho have been up over 100 degrees. Kansas, Iowa have been up over 100 degrees. You also, guys, are going to be subject to very dangerous electrical storms. Be wary of it. Prepare for it. Folks, also in our program description below this program, I've given you a link to Mark Wage's program, Wage's World. This week we have had numerous CMEs launched from the sun. Numerous. One after another on several days, several occasions. Over several days, several occasions. Some of them have been good-sized. M-class flares, C-class flares, G3 electromagnetic storms, protons launched from the surface of the sun that made it to the earth in record time. The plasma from those storms, those CMEs, have been hitting the earth, and they're hitting the earth now. If you're having problems with your television and radio communications, your shows or music is being erupted or they're static, that's the reason. That's the reason. It's going to continue for some time now. They keep happening. We talked about it earlier this week with this one sunspot. I think it was 3385 on the surface of the sun. Launched 3 sunspots and off that one sunspot launched 3 solar flares, CMEs. And then there were halo CMEs where the material, the plasma radiation was going out like this. Called halo CMEs. Incredible. But that proton radiation is headed our way. The plasma radiation is headed our way. Be wary of that. Be very careful. You could also go to spaceweather.com and find out what kind of day we're having with the sun. You may need to make sure you have sun protection with you. Hats, visors, protection for your skin, your eyes, sunglasses. Okay? Make sure you have it. Make sure you have the correct clothing on to help protect you from burns. Okay? Also, we talked about this before. When we have CMEs, it just doesn't send that stuff out into space. It's hitting our Earth and every other planet and moon around, causing earthquakes. Beware of that. Beware of that. We talked about this before. Look around you. Know what's going on. Guys, I love you. That's why I'm here. That's why we tell you about what's going on. That's why we come on the air in an unnormal fashion, to make sure you have the information you need. Please pass it on. We've got 111 thumbs up. I appreciate that. Before you leave tonight, make sure you give us a thumbs up before you leave. We appreciate that as well. Spread this information I gave you tonight. This is vital information for everybody. Your family, your extended family, your friends, your neighbors, the people you work with, and even the people you socialize on social media. Everybody needs this. Okay? I put it on Instagram. Yeah, I do. I put it on Facebook. I put it on MeWe. Before Parler was taken down, I put it on Parler. I put it everywhere I can on Discord as well. Yes, we have a Discord channel, and those mods that we have here, if you have our Discord channel, please pass that information on to other people here. Everybody needs that. Okay? Yes, I have that location, but my location is a little bit different than yours, because I'm the manager of that channel. So if I give out that information, you won't be able to get into it. So if you guys can help share that information around, that would be great. I love you guys, I really do. That's why I came on the show tonight, to give you vital information that might help save your life. or help save a family member or a friend, even in Australia or even in Argentina or anywhere around the globe. Our dear friend Dean is up there in England. We had earthquakes just north of him over in Scandinavia. Sweden, Norway, and Denmark had earthquakes today. A 5.3 in the North Mid-Atlantic south of Iceland hit today. That energy's going north. We've seen energy, seismic energy, hit the poles. Things are moving. Tectonic plates are moving. We've shown you earthquakes all over the globe. Today, in the New Madrid Fault area, guess what? There was an earthquake. Did you realize there was an earthquake in Tennessee? Let me show you that real quick before I leave you. I want you to know about it. I want you to see it. Let's go over to Tennessee. Oh, wouldn't they do that? Hold on a second, guys. I'll fix this in just a second. Be here. Stay here with me. I can't believe that they do this. They freeze the map thinking, okay, Ron won't be able to use it, tell anybody what's going on if we freeze it. Really? Guess what? I'm back! It doesn't take long for me to figure it out. Okay? I want to show you this. In Tennessee, right here, Tiptonville, Tennessee, right on the edge of the New Madrid Fault. A 2.2 minor earthquake, and I will bet you there's more than just a 2.2. No, I did not have time to research a seismogram, but I will guarantee you that there was a lot more than just a 2.2 earthquake. There always is. I've shown you that as well. Over here in South Carolina also got hit. This time it was a 1.7 tremor. We've talked about tremors and earthquakes here on the East Coast because, folks, I'll back it out here, because, folks, the mid-Atlantic Ocean is expanding. The Atlantic plate is expanding, meaning that the western side of the Atlantic plate is pushing out. It is literally pushing the North American plate in a south-southwesterly direction, causing tremors and earthquakes on the east coast of the United States. It's also pushing east. It's also pushing east out in pushing Africa and Europe eastward. There's no wonder we're having quakes all over the place. Yesterday here in France, again, USGS didn't say anything about it. 14 earthquakes, from tremors to full-blown earthquakes up until 3.7 earthquakes, hitting France, 14 of them yesterday. One of them near Belgium, out here near Belgium. A lot of them, one hitting Switzerland, another one in Germany. Over here in the Alps, the Swiss Alps, the German Alps, the French Alps, about six or eight earthquakes. Over here in Italy, the same thing. About 45 earthquakes here in Italy. Croatia, having aftershocks of a 6.7 earthquake that hit there less than a year ago. Slovenia, Romania, having earthquakes all over the place. Greece as well. Turkey, we talked about that. Everywhere, guys, everywhere. Now, I want to show you something else that I found to be really incredible today, speaking of earthquakes. Okay? Over here on the Big Island, look at what has not happened here. Down here in Pahala, the southeastern part of the Hawaiian island. This is usually where we have a large amount of earthquakes. because this is where the magma plume comes from the center of the earth, from way down in the South Pacific all the way up here to Pahala. That's where the magma comes into the Big Island, here in Pahala. We only have 3 earthquakes here. The largest is this 3.0 that I've highlighted here. Okay? Over here on the northern side of Pahala, we have a 1.8 tremor and a 1.9 2.0 earthquake. Over here at Kilauea, guess what? Kilauea is still active. Only a 1.9 over here in the crater, Holly Mau Mau crater at Kilauea. 1.9 2.0 earthquake. Just south of it, a 2.1 earthquake. Another one, a 2.3 here. And that was all. And over here in Fern Forest, I'm sorry, it was a 1.8 tremor here. That's near this great, big, huge Helena slump. Okay, a 1.8 tremor at the Helena slump here. Things are happening. Even in Hawaii, we have quite a few people here in Hawaii that live here. We talk about Hawaii here. They are not saying anything about Mauna Loa or up here in Mauna Kea or even over here on the western side in Hualalai. They're not saying anything there, but guess what? There are tremors and earthquakes hitting those volcanoes as well, whether this agency wants to advise anybody or not. Also, I almost forgot about this. Guess what? We talked about old Ililama volcano over here in Alaska. That's not the only thing that's happening. And I forgot to tell you about Shishaldin down here. Shishaldin is still erupting. Shishaldin volcano is still erupting. And it's not the only one. Semi-So-Pokanoi down here is also erupting. 2 Alaska volcanoes erupting. Okay? Down here in the peninsula of Alaska. Over here in the southeastern part of Alaska. Right here. Okay? We have 2 other volcanoes here that Terry Rummel talked to us about. They're also having earthquakes and tremors hitting them as well. We need to be concerned about it. We need to become very concerned about it. I have family over in Juneau. I have family and friends all over Alaska. Some of you do too. Folks, this is serious. Also, one other thing I just saw here earlier. I forgot to talk about it. Over here off the coast of Oregon, Langlois, Oregon. Okay? Langlois, Oregon. This is on the edge of the Blanco fracture zone. We've seen many earthquakes here in the past weeks and months. This is over on the eastern side of the Blanco fracture zone, 123 miles west of Langlois, Oregon. This is a 2.7 minor earthquake. We've seen 2.5s, 2.7s here before. We've seen 4.5s and even 5.3s hit here. This is in the Cascadia subduction zone region. We need to always keep our eye on the ball when it comes to Cascadia, because the agency will never tell you, as it shows today, not a single event there. And that's a lie. The lie of omission. If they're willing to omit information, God help them when something happens. Guys, I know it's been a long day for all of us. I hope you have a great day and a better tomorrow. Now, our mods put this out earlier that yes, we have a Sunday school class tomorrow called Come Follow Me at 12 noon on Sunday. I would love to have as many of you as possible at that Sunday school class. Yes, we do talk about church, we talk about religion, we talk about values that each one of us shares. Michael McKinney says, any chance of an eruption? at Waldell and Edgecombe volcano, possibly, yes. Semi-Sopokanoi and Shishalden are already erupting. Okay, Old Ilawama is looking like it wants to erupt too, with all kinds of earthquakes and tremors all around it. Mount Redout's also getting hit with tremors in that 2.2. I bet there's more than that. Anyway, guys, that's all for tonight. I hope you're here tomorrow morning for our instruction in the scriptures. And I love teaching. I've been a gospel doctrine teacher for years now, and I love it, just as I love Christ. I do. I love Christ our Savior. I hope you do as well. Let's come together and worship in Sunday school tomorrow at 12 noon. I hope you have a great night. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, guys, take care. Know that I love you. May God bless you and keep you. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody.